I walked through my front door, carrying 2 bags of groceries, expecting a quiet Saturday afternoon. Instead, I heard something that made my blood run cold. My 9-year-old daughter Lily was locked in the bathroom, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I dropped everything and ran upstairs. Through the door, her voice was broken, choking on tears. My phone started buzzing in my pocket over and over. I pulled it out and saw 23 notifications from our family group chat. My younger sister Diane had posted something public, a poll, about Lily. The question read, "What is worse about my niece, her crooked haircut, or her nasty attitude?" The photo showed Lily from last week's barbecue, her face frozen in an awkward smile. Family members had already voted. The comments were cruel, merciless, comparing my baby to cartoon characters. My hands started shaking. The haircut was something Lily had been devastated about for 2 weeks already. She had tried cutting her own bangs one afternoon while I was at work, and it went badly. She cried for hours that day, and I held her, promising it would grow back, that she was beautiful no matter what. And now my own sister had turned that vulnerable moment into entertainment for our entire family. I scrolled through the comments, feeling sicker with each one. My cousin Janet wrote that Lily was just like me, difficult and ugly, always causing drama. My uncle Paul said maybe if I spent less time working and more time parenting, Lily would not be such a brat. My Aunt Caroline suggested I take Lily to a real salon instead of letting her look like a ragamuffin. And there at the bottom, my own mother had liked 3 of the cruelest comments. 23 family members had participated. 23 people who were supposed to love Lily had voted in a poll, mocking a 9-year-old child. The post had been shared beyond our family, too. Friends of relatives were voting people I had never even met were weighing in on my daughter's appearance and personality. I knocked softly on the bathroom door. "Lily, honey, please open up." "Go away," she choked out between sobs. "Everyone hates me. Aunt Diane is right. I am ugly and mean, and everyone knows it now." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. But something else rose up inside me, something cold and sharp and absolutely certain. I was not going to cry. I was not going to let this stand. I was going to do something about this right now. I spent the next 5 minutes coaxing Lily out of the bathroom. Her face was blotchy and swollen, her eyes red and puffy. She collapsed into my arms, and I held her while she cried into my shoulder. My husband Greg came home from his morning jog and found us there on the hallway floor. When I explained what happened, his face went pale, then red with anger. "What kind of person does that to a kid?" he said, his voice tight. "My sister, apparently," I said. But not for long. I settled Lily on the couch with her favorite movie and a blanket. Greg sat with her, stroking her hair while she stared at the screen with empty eyes. I went into our bedroom and closed the door. Then I got to work. I took screenshots of everything. Every single comment. Every vote. Every cruel joke. Every family member who participated. I saved them all methodically. My hands steady now. My mind clear and focused. Then I opened a new post on my own social media page, and I wrote exactly what I was thinking. I started by naming Diane directly and publicly. I explained what she had done, posted the screenshots for everyone to see, and tagged every single family member who had voted or commented. I wrote about the cruelty of mocking a 9-year-old child, about family betrayal, about the responsibility we all have to protect children instead of tearing them down. I wrote about how that haircut happened because Lily was trying to look pretty for school pictures, how she had cried when it went wrong, how she had been building her confidence back up slowly until this. Then I did something I knew would hit Diane where it hurt. I tagged her employer. Diane worked as a teacher's aide at Riverside Elementary School, just 2 miles from our house. I tagged the school's official page and wrote that someone who publicly humiliates children should not be working with them. I made the post public, shareable, visible to everyone. My finger hovered over the post button for maybe 3 seconds. Then I pressed it. Within minutes, my phone exploded. Messages started pouring in, most of them from family members. My cousin Beth apologized immediately, saying she had not realized how hurtful it was, that she thought it was just family teasing. My Aunt Linda sent a long message about how sorry she was, that she should have said something to Diane instead of participating. A few of Diane's friends' people, who did not even know our family, commented supportively on my post saying I was right to call out that behavior. Diane's original poll disappeared from her page within the hour. I called her. She answered on the first ring, her voice shrill and defensive. "How dare you," she started, but I cut her off. "How dare I? How dare you, Diane? She is 9 years old. She is your niece. She was locked in a bathroom crying her eyes out because her own family voted on which part of her they thought was worse. You are dead to me." I hung up before she could respond. Greg came into the bedroom, his expression somewhere between proud and worried. Lily was asking for me. I went back downstairs and held my daughter, telling her that I had stood up for her, that what Aunt Diane did was wrong, that I would always protect her. For the first time since I had gotten home, I saw a flicker of something like relief in her eyes. "You really told them off?" she asked quietly. "I really did, baby. And they are apologizing." And for 2 hours, it felt like I had won. The apologies kept coming. Some family members were clearly embarrassed, falling over themselves to explain that they had not thought it through, that they were sorry. A few people who had not participated reached out privately to say they were proud of me for standing up. Greg made dinner while I stayed with Lily, and we watched movies together until she finally fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from crying. But then, 3 hours after my post went live, everything changed. My phone buzzed with a notification. Diane had posted a video. I opened it with a sinking feeling in my stomach. The video showed Diane sitting on her couch, tears streaming down her face, her voice breaking as she spoke directly to the camera. She talked about how she had made a mistake, yes, but that it was meant as a joke, as helpful criticism, because she cared about Lily and worried that I was letting my daughter run wild without proper guidance. She said I had completely overreacted, that I had always been jealous of her, that I was unstable and vindictive. She cried about how I had tried to ruin her life by tagging her employer, how I was trying to get her fired over a simple misunderstanding. Then she shared screenshots of old text messages between us. Messages where I had vented about Lily's behavior during a particularly difficult phase when she was 7. Messages where I had complained about tantrums and attitude problems, completely normal parenting frustrations, taken completely out of context. Diane narrated over them, saying that I myself had called Lily difficult, that I had complained about her attitude constantly, and that Diane's poll was just trying to address what I had already acknowledged privately. The video was perfectly calculated. Diane looked vulnerable, wounded, victimized. She wiped her tears delicately. She spoke in a soft, hurt voice. She painted herself as the target of my unhinged rage. And it worked. Within an hour, the tide had completely turned. Family members who had apologized to me started backtracking. My cousin Janet commented on Diane's video, saying that I had always been dramatic, that I could never take a joke, that I was proving Diane's point about nasty attitudes running in the family. My Uncle Paul said I owed Diane an apology for trying to destroy her career. Even some of the strangers who had supported me earlier started questioning whether I had overreacted. My mother called. I answered, hoping she would finally defend me. "Vera, this has gone too far," she said, her voice cold. "You need to take down that post and apologize to your sister. This is family business. You do not air this publicly, and you certainly do not try to get your sister fired. I raised you better than this. Mom, she publicly mocked your granddaughter. She made Lily cry for hours. It was a joke, Vera. A joke in poor taste, maybe, but you have blown this completely out of proportion. You have always been like this, so sensitive, so quick to attack. Diane made one mistake and you went nuclear. I am disappointed in you." She hung up on me. Greg's parents called him that evening. I could hear his father's voice through the phone, loud and lecturing. When Greg got off the call, he looked exhausted. "They think you should apologize," he said quietly. "They think this has gotten out of hand." "You think I should apologize?" I asked, my voice dangerous. "I think," he said carefully, "maybe we should have handled this more privately. Diane's video makes some good points. You did tag her work. That was pretty harsh. She tagged my daughter's face and asked people to vote on what was worse about her. I know, babe, I know. But now it looks like you are the aggressor. I am on your side. I am just saying maybe we need to de-escalate. Lily woke up from the couch and heard us talking. She had overheard enough to understand that the family was now calling me crazy, that people thought I had gone too far. The relief I had seen in her eyes earlier was gone, replaced by confusion and guilt. "This is because of me," she whispered. "Everyone is fighting because of me." "No, baby, no," I started, but she ran upstairs to her room and locked the door again. By hour 5, I realized my retaliation had backfired completely. Diane's post had gotten 3 times the engagement of mine. The narrative had shifted entirely. I was no longer the mother protecting her child. I was the unstable sister attacking a family member over a joke. Every attempt I made to clarify or defend myself in the comments just made me look more obsessive, more unhinged. Greg fell asleep on the couch that night, too tired to even make it to bed. I sat in the kitchen alone, looking at my phone, watching the comments pile up against me, feeling the walls close in. I had tried to protect my daughter, and somehow I had made everything so much worse. I woke up the next morning, determined to fix what I had broken. I could not let this stand. My family needed to understand that I was not crazy, that I was not overreacting, that Diane's poll had been genuinely cruel. I spent Sunday morning crafting a new post, this one calmer and more detailed. I included more screenshots, showing just how vicious the comments had been. I explained the full context of the text messages Diane had shared, showing the other messages, where I had also talked about how much I loved Lily, how proud I was of her, how normal parenting included venting frustrations sometimes. I posted it before Greg woke up. I thought clarity and context would help people see the truth. Instead, it made everything exponentially worse. My Aunt Caroline was the first to comment. "Vera, this obsession is not healthy. You need to let this go and seek professional help." My cousin Beth, who had apologized just yesterday now, wrote that I was clearly unable to let things go, that my continued posting proved I had emotional problems that needed addressing. By noon, I found out through a mutual friend that my mother had organized a family meeting, a meeting I was not invited to. 15 family members gathered at my mother's house to discuss, as my mother put it, the Vera situation. My friend Sarah, my cousin's wife, texted me afterward to let me know what had happened. "They spent 2 hours talking about you," she wrote. "Diane was there. She cried the whole time. Your mom said you have always been difficult, that you have always caused drama, that this is a pattern. They decided to take space from you. They uninvited you from the family reunion next month. They agreed that if you reach out to any of them, they will all say the same thing, that they cannot talk to you until you get professional help. I am so sorry, Vera. I tried to speak up for you, but your mom shut me down. She said family comes first, and right now you are attacking family." I read the message 3 times, each time feeling more nauseous. My own mother had organized my exile. My own family had gathered together to decide I was the problem. 30 minutes later, my father sent me a text. Just one line. "I am disappointed in you, Vera. I expected better." That was it. No conversation, no chance to explain, just disappointment and dismissal. Lily stayed in her room most of Sunday. When she finally came downstairs for dinner, her eyes were red again. She picked at her food and would not look at me. "I heard you on the phone with Grandma," she said quietly. "She thinks you are crazy now, because of me." "No, honey, this is not because of you. This is because Aunt Diane did something wrong and the family does not want to admit it." "But everyone thinks you are wrong," Lily said, her voice breaking. "Everyone thinks you went too far. Maybe you did. Maybe if you had just ignored it, everything would be normal now." Greg reached across the table and took Lily's hand. "Your mom was protecting you, Lily. That was the right thing to do." "But look what happened," Lily said, tears spilling over. "Now Grandma hates us. Now we cannot go to the reunion. Now everyone is fighting. I wish I never told you about the post. I wish I had just stayed quiet." She left the table without eating. That night, my closest cousin Emma, who had been my best friend since childhood, blocked me on every platform. No message, no explanation, just blocked. I tried calling her, and it went straight to voicemail. I texted her husband, and he responded coldly. "Emma does not want to be involved in this drama anymore. Please respect her decision. One by one, I watched my family close ranks against me. People who had known me my entire life decided I was unstable based on a 3-minute video from my sister. People who had watched Lily grow up decided that protecting her was an overreaction. I took down all my posts on Monday morning. Every single one. I deleted everything. I thought maybe if I showed I was willing to back down, willing to stop fighting, they would soften. I sent a text to my mother. I took down the posts. Can we please talk? She responded 2 hours later. When you are ready to apologize to Diane and get help, we can talk. Not before. Greg tried to be supportive, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. He would hug me and tell me it would be okay, but his hugs felt obligatory, dutiful. He stopped defending me to his own parents. He started spending longer hours at work. He slept on the couch more nights than in our bed. On Tuesday, Diane sent me a text. Just one line sent from a number I did not recognize because I had blocked her original number. Maybe think before you try to destroy someone next time. I stared at that message for a long time. She was not sorry. She was not remorseful. She was gloating. She had won, and she knew it. Wednesday afternoon, Lily came home from school, quiet and withdrawn. She went straight to her room. When I checked on her an hour later, she was lying in bed staring at the ceiling. Did something happen at school? I asked. She shook her head. Lily, please talk to me. Everyone knows, she said, finally. One of the girls in my class, her mom is friends with Aunt Diane. She told everyone about the fight. Now kids at school are asking me about it. They are asking if my mom is crazy. They are asking if I really have a nasty attitude, like Aunt Diane said. My stomach dropped. Oh, honey. Can we move? She asked, her voice small and hopeless. Can we just go somewhere else where nobody knows about this? I did not know how to answer that. I left her room and went downstairs, sat on the couch, and put my face in my hands. 2 weeks ago, we had been a normal family. Now we were fractured, isolated, and broken. My daughter was traumatized. My husband was distant. My family had exiled me, and I had no idea how to fix any of it. I had tried to defend my daughter. I had tried to do the right thing, and all I had accomplished was destroying everything we had built. 2 weeks passed in a fog. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts at the hospital where I had been a nurse for 8 years. I thought if I could just focus on my job, on helping patients, on something I was good at, I could rebuild some sense of normalcy. I took Lily to a therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Patterson, who specialized in childhood trauma. Lily went to her appointments quietly, saying little, her spark completely gone. Greg and I moved around each other carefully like strangers sharing a house, both of us too exhausted to fight anymore. I avoided all family contact. I stopped checking social media. I deleted the apps from my phone entirely. I thought silence and time would let things blow over, that eventually people would move on and maybe slowly I could rebuild some of those relationships. I was wrong. On a Thursday morning, 2.5 weeks after the original incident, my supervisor Janet called me into her office. Janet was a fair woman, someone I respected, someone I had worked alongside for years. When I walked in and saw the human resources director sitting there too, my heart sank. Vera, have a seat, Janet said gently. Saturday. The HR director, a woman named Patricia, whom I had only met twice before, opened a folder on the desk. We received a complaint about you, Patricia, said her voice professionally neutral. A complaint regarding your social media behavior. I felt the blood drain from my face. What? Someone sent us screenshots of posts you made approximately 2 weeks ago. Posts where you publicly harassed a family member and attempted to interfere with her employment by tagging her workplace. The complainant expressed concern that someone who engages in that kind of behavior online might not be stable enough to work with vulnerable patients. Who filed the complaint? I asked, though I already knew the answer. We cannot disclose that information, but we take all complaints seriously, especially those involving potential workplace conduct issues. That was family business, I said, my voice shaking. My sister publicly humiliated my 9-year-old daughter. I was defending my child. I understand this is personal, Janet said, and her sympathy sounded genuine. But the hospital has a social media policy. We all signed it when we were hired. It states that employees should conduct themselves professionally online, and that any behavior that could reflect poorly on the hospital or suggest instability could be grounds for disciplinary action. I was defending my daughter, I repeated, hearing how desperate I sounded. Patricia pulled out another sheet of paper. I am placing you on a performance improvement plan effective immediately. You will meet with Janet weekly for the next 60 days. During that time, we will monitor your performance and conduct. Any further incidents online or otherwise could result in suspension or termination. Do you understand? I understand that someone is trying to ruin my life, I said, tears burning behind my eyes. Patricia said, not unkindly, I suggest you take this seriously. This is a warning. Use it as an opportunity to refocus on your work and leave personal matters at home. I signed the papers because I had no choice. When I left the office, I went straight to the bathroom and locked myself in a stall shaking. 8 years of excellent work. 8 years of perfect reviews, of going above and beyond, of being nominated for Nurse of the Year twice. All of it threatened because Diane had found a way to attack my livelihood. Over the next few days, I tried to figure out who had filed the complaint. HR would not tell me, but I had suspicions. Diane worked in education and knew people throughout the community. She had connections. It would have been easy for her to find someone who worked at the hospital, someone who could file an anonymous complaint on her behalf. My colleagues started treating me differently. Some of them had seen the posts before I deleted them. Others had heard rumors. People who used to chat with me during breaks now kept their distance. A few were outright cold. I overheard a conversation in the break room where 2 nurses were discussing someone who had gone crazy on social media, and they stopped talking the moment they saw me. The worst moment came on a Saturday shift. I was assigned to a patient in the cardiac wing, a woman in her 60s, recovering from surgery. I introduced myself and started checking her vitals when she looked at me strangely. Wait, she said slowly. Are you the nurse from that Facebook thing? The one who went after her sister? My hands froze on her blood pressure cuff. Excuse me. My daughter showed me. You posted all that stuff about your family. It was all over the community groups. I tried to keep my voice steady. I was protecting my daughter, ma'am. Now let me just finish checking your vitals. She pulled her arm away. I want a different nurse. Ma'am, I assure you I am perfectly capable of providing excellent care. I want a different nurse, she repeated louder this time. Please get me someone else. I had to call Janet. I had to stand there while my supervisor reassigned me and gave my patient to someone else. I had to endure the looks from other staff members who witnessed the exchange. I had to go to an empty supply closet afterward and stand there breathing deeply, trying not to completely fall apart. That evening, Greg and I had our worst fight yet. I told him about the HR meeting, about the performance improvement plan, about the patient who recognized me and asked for a different nurse. I was crying, overwhelmed, and I needed him to tell me it would be okay. Instead, he said, maybe you should have thought about this before you made those posts. Are you serious right now? I am just saying, Vera, you had to know this could affect your job. You work in healthcare. You tagged someone's employer. Did you really think there would not be consequences? I was protecting our daughter. I know that. But look at where we are now. You are on a performance plan. We could lose your income. We have a mortgage. We have bills. What if they fire you? What do we do then? So I should have just let Diane humiliate Lily. Just ignored it. I do not know, Greg said, running his hands through his hair. Maybe yes. Maybe it would have blown over. Maybe Lily would have been upset for a few days and then moved on. Kids are resilient. But instead, this has consumed our entire lives for weeks. Your family hates you. Your job is threatened. Lily is more miserable than ever. Was it worth it, Vera? Was proving you were right? Worth all of this? I stared at him, feeling something crack inside me. Get out. Vera. Get out of this room. Sleep on the couch. I cannot look at you right now. He left. I heard him gathering a pillow and blanket downstairs. I lay in our bed alone, staring at the ceiling, feeling more isolated than I had ever felt in my life. The next morning, Lily overheard us arguing about money. She heard Greg say we might not be able to afford her therapy if I lost my job. She heard him say that my need to be right had put our family's financial security at risk. She came downstairs while we were still talking, her face pale. "This is all my fault," she whispered. "I am costing us money. I am making everything bad." "No, Lily," I started, but she ran back upstairs before I could finish. Greg looked at me with exhausted, disappointed eyes. "Fix this, Vera, please. Before there is nothing left to fix." But I had no idea how to fix something this broken. Diane had systematically destroyed my reputation with my family, and now she was destroying my professional life too. Every attempt I made to defend myself only made things worse. Every action I took seemed to blow up in my face. I went to work Monday morning and smiled professionally at everyone. I did my job perfectly. I stayed late to help with paperwork. I volunteered for the worst shifts. I was determined to prove I was fine, that I was stable, that I was still the excellent nurse I had always been. But inside I was drowning. And I had no idea how much deeper this nightmare could go. On Wednesday morning, 3 weeks after the original incident, I made a decision. I called Lily's school and asked for a meeting with her teacher and the principal. I arrived during my lunch break, still in my scrubs, trying to project calm competence even though I felt anything but calm inside. Mrs. Henderson, Lily's 4th grade teacher, greeted me warmly. She was a gentle woman in her 50s who had always been kind to Lily. Principal Davis joined us in her office, a brisk, professional woman who got straight to business. "Thank you for meeting with me," I said. "I want to make you aware of a family situation that might affect Lily at school." I explained everything as calmly as I could. The poll Diane had posted, the family conflict that followed, the fact that some parents in the community knew about it. I asked them to watch for any signs of bullying to keep Lily safe, to let me know if other kids started treating her differently. Mrs. Henderson was sympathetic and kind. "We will absolutely keep an eye on things," she promised. "Lily is such a sweet girl. I am so sorry your family is going through this." Principal Davis made notes. "We take bullying very seriously at this school," she said. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will be vigilant." I left the meeting feeling like I had finally done something right, something proactive that might actually protect Lily instead of making things worse. I should have known better. The next day, Lily came home from school and went straight to her room without saying hello. When I knocked on her door an hour later, she was sitting on her bed, hugging her knees to her chest. "What happened?" I asked, sitting beside her. "Why did you talk to Mrs. Henderson and Principal Davis?" Her voice was flat, emotionless. "Because I wanted to make sure you were safe at school. I wanted them to know to watch out for bullying." "Well, now everyone knows something is wrong with me." "What do you mean?" "Mrs. Henderson pulled me aside during recess today. In front of everyone. She asked how I was doing, and if anyone was bothering me. Everyone saw. Now kids are asking what is wrong with me. Why is the teacher checking on me? Why did my mom go to the school? They know something happened." My heart sank. "Oh, honey, I was just trying to help." "You made it worse," she said, and there were tears in her eyes now. "You always make it worse." Over the next week, everything I feared came true, but worse than I could have imagined. Word spread through the school about the family drama. It turned out that not just one parent knew about it. Several parents in Lily's class had seen the posts before they were deleted. Some were friends with Diane. Others were just part of the community gossip network. And kids cruel in the way, only kids can be latched onto it. Someone found the original screenshots of Diane's poll. An older sibling showed them to their younger brother, who brought his phone to school. By the end of that week, half of Lily's 4th grade class had seen the poll asking what was worse about her. The bullying started small. Whispers in the hallway. Girls giggling when Lily walked past. But it escalated quickly. Someone created a new poll this time, passing a piece of paper around the cafeteria, asking kids to vote on whether Lily was uglier or meaner. A group of boys started calling her nasty attitude Lily whenever she walked by. 3 girls who had been her friends suddenly had no room for her at their lunch table. Mrs. Henderson called me on a Tuesday afternoon. "Mrs. Parker, I think you should come pick up Lily early today. She had a panic attack in class. We have her in the nurse's office." I left work immediately, my heart racing. When I got to the school, Lily was sitting on the cot in the nurse's office, her face blotchy and wet, breathing into a paper bag. The school nurse, a kind older woman, explained that Lily had been unable to catch her breath during math class, that she had been shaking and crying and saying she could not be there anymore. I took her home and held her while she cried. Someone made a fake Instagram account, she finally told me. It is called Nasty Attitude Lily. They posted the picture from Aunt Diane's poll. Kids are following it and commenting. They are voting on the poll again. They are saying mean things. I felt rage and helplessness in equal measure. I reported the account immediately. Instagram took it down within a few hours. But the damage was done. Lily knew her classmates had seen it. She knew they were talking about her. She knew she was the joke. That night she begged me not to make her go back to school. "Please, Mom, please. I cannot go back there. Everyone hates me. Please do not make me go. We will figure this out, honey. We will fix this." But how everything you do to fix things makes them worse. "Just let me stay home, please." Principal Davis called the next morning. "I need you to come in for another meeting." This time the meeting was different. Principal Davis was professional but distant. Mrs. Henderson looked uncomfortable. They explained that Lily's behavior at school had declined significantly over the past 2 weeks. She was distracted in class. She was not completing her work. She had become withdrawn from other students. The panic attack was concerning. They wanted to discuss whether Lily might benefit from some time at home, maybe enrolling in online school for the rest of the year. "You are suggesting I pull my daughter out of school because she is being bullied?" I asked, incredulous. "We are suggesting that Lily seems to be struggling significantly, and perhaps a change of environment might help her," Principal Davis said carefully. "She is struggling because other kids are tormenting her about something my sister did. The solution is to stop the bullying, not to remove the victim." "We are doing everything we can to address the bullying," Mrs. Henderson said gently. "But Vera, maybe Lily does need some time away from this environment. Just to heal. Just until things settle down." I left that meeting shaking with anger. They wanted Lily gone because dealing with the situation was complicated. It was easier to suggest she leave than to actually protect her. At home, things continued to deteriorate. Lily stopped eating properly. She picked at her meals and claimed she was not hungry. She started having nightmares, waking up crying 3 or 4 times a week. She stopped doing her homework. She stopped drawing, which she had always loved. She just lay in her room staring at the ceiling or at the walls, retreating further into herself. Greg and I fought constantly. He blamed me for going to the school, saying I had painted a target on Lily's back. I blamed him for not supporting me. We said terrible things to each other. He slept on the couch for 5 nights straight. On the 6th night, he did not come home until almost midnight, saying he had been driving around because he needed space. "You need space," I shouted. "Our daughter is falling apart, and you need space." "What do you want from me, Vera?" "I do not know how to fix this." "You do not know how to fix this. We are drowning, and I do not know what to do." "Be on my side," I screamed. "Just be on my side for once." "I am on your side, but being on your side does not mean I think every decision you made was right. You went nuclear over a social media post, and now look where we are." She was crying in the bathroom, Greg. Our daughter was destroyed. What was I supposed to do? "I do not know," he said, and his voice cracked. "I really do not know anymore." The worst moment came on a Sunday night, 3.5 weeks after this all began. Lily came into the living room, where Greg and I were sitting in tense silence. She stood in front of us, her eyes red from crying, her face pale and drawn, and she said the words that broke me completely. "I wish you had never stood up for me," she whispered. "Everything is worse now. My whole life is ruined. You made it worse, Mom. You always make everything worse. I wish you had just left it alone." Then she turned and went back upstairs. I sat there frozen, those words echoing in my head. My daughter blamed me. My husband doubted me. My family had exiled me. My job was threatened. And I had no idea how to fix any of it because every single thing I tried to fix just shattered into more pieces. That night, I sat alone in the kitchen at 2 a.m, and I seriously considered whether everyone was right. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should have just ignored the pull. Maybe my need to be right to stand up to fight back had destroyed my entire family. Maybe I really had made everything worse. By the 4th week, I was desperate enough to try the one thing I swore I would never do. I reached out to Diane through a mutual friend, someone who had stayed neutral in all of this. I sent a message asking if Diane would be willing to talk, if there was any way we could resolve this for the sake of the family, especially for Lily's sake. The friend called me back an hour later. She is willing to meet with you, but only if you are ready to apologize publicly. She wants you to post an apology on social media, taking full responsibility for overreacting and damaging her reputation. If you do that, she says she will consider letting things go back to normal. I will do it, I said, the words tasting like poison in my mouth. If it will end this nightmare, I will do it. I spent 2 hours crafting an apology that made me want to vomit. I wrote that I had overreacted, that I had let my emotions get the better of me, that I should have handled things privately, that I was sorry for any damage I had caused to Diane's reputation. I posted it publicly, tagged the family, and sent a screenshot to Diane through our mutual friend. Her response came 3 hours later, not through a kind message or a phone call, through a legal notice delivered by a process server who showed up at my door on a Wednesday evening. Diane was filing for a restraining order against me. I stood in my doorway staring at the papers, unable to process what I was reading. Diane claimed that I had harassed her online, that I had tried to damage her career, that I had sent threatening messages that she feared for her safety. The petition included my posts, as evidence her tearful video, as evidence and statements from 3 family members saying I had been unstable and aggressive. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks away. I called the only lawyer I could afford, a general practice attorney named Tom Brady, yes, like the football player who worked out of a strip mall office and charged $200 an hour. He looked over the paperwork and grimaced. "This is not good," he said bluntly. "She has documentation, she has witnesses, and that apology you just posted could actually hurt you. It makes you look like you knew you did something wrong." "I was trying to make peace," I said, my voice breaking. "I understand that, but in court it looks like an admission of guilt. We can fight this, but I have to be honest with you. Restraining orders are often granted if there is any reasonable concern for safety. The fact that you tagged her employer, the fact that you made multiple posts, the fact that this has been ongoing for weeks, it does not look great. What happens if she gets the restraining order? You will have to stay a minimum of 100 feet away from her at all times. No contact, direct or indirect. No social media posts about her. If you violate it, you could be arrested. And it goes on your record. It could affect your job. My job is already hanging by a thread. Then we need to be very careful here." I left his office feeling like I was going to throw up. The hearing was in 2 weeks. 2 weeks to somehow prove that I was not a dangerous, unstable person, that I was just a mother who had tried to protect her child. But things got worse before I even made it to that hearing. 4 days later, on a Saturday morning, there was a knock on our door. I opened it to find a woman in her 40s holding a clipboard and an official-looking badge. "Mrs. Vera Parker." "Yes. I am Amanda Stone from Child Protective Services. We received a report of concern regarding your daughter Lily. May I come in?" My blood turned to ice. "A report? What kind of report?" "I would prefer to discuss this inside," she said, her voice professionally neutral. I let her in. Greg came downstairs, saw the CPS badge, and went pale. Amanda Stone sat on our couch and opened her file. "We received an anonymous report alleging that Lily is being emotionally neglected and that there are concerns about your stability as a parent. The report cites an ongoing family conflict concerning social media behavior and states that Lily has been showing signs of distress at school, including panic attacks and withdrawal." "Who made the report?" Greg asked. "I cannot disclose that information. What I can tell you is that we take all reports seriously. I need to interview Lily privately, and I need to ask you both some questions about the home environment. This is insane, I said, my voice shaking. My sister publicly humiliated my daughter. I defended her. And now someone has called CPS on me. I understand you are upset, Mrs. Parker, but I need you to cooperate with this investigation. May I speak with Lily? We had no choice. We called Lily downstairs. She was terrified, her eyes wide and scared. Amanda Stone took her into the dining room alone. Greg and I sat in the living room listening to the murmur of voices, unable to hear what was being said. When they came out 20 minutes later, Lily was crying. She ran upstairs without looking at us. Amanda Stone made notes in her file. Lily confirmed that there has been significant family conflict. She stated that she has been scared to go to school. She mentioned nightmares and difficulty sleeping. She said she has been worried about her parents fighting. We are going through a difficult time, Greg said. But we love our daughter. We are trying to help her. I am opening a case file, Amanda Stone said. I will be scheduling a follow-up visit in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I strongly encourage you to continue therapy for Lily and to consider seeking help for yourselves as well. I also need to ask you some questions about your mental health, Mrs. Parker. She asked me if I had ever been diagnosed with any mental illness, if I was on any medications, if I had ever had thoughts of harming myself or others, if I had a history of aggressive behavior. I answered honestly no to everything, but I could see her making notes, could see the way she looked at me with professional concern. Before she left, she said, "The most important thing is Lily's well-being. If we determine that the home environment is not stable, we will have to take steps to ensure her safety." After she left, Greg and I sat in stunned silence. "They could take her," I whispered. "Diane has gone so far that CPS thinks we are unfit parents." Greg put his head in his hands. "How did this happen? How did we get here?" That night, Lily crawled into bed with me, something she had not done since she was 6 years old. She curled up against me and cried softly. "Are they going to take me away?" she asked. "No, baby, no. I promise. But I am scared, Mom. I am so scared." I held her and stroked her hair and made promises I was not sure I could keep. I had tried to protect her from one hurt and had inadvertently exposed her to a dozen more. My sister's cruelty had been terrible, but the avalanche it had triggered had buried us all. Tom Brady called me the next day. "I did some digging," he said. "I have a buddy who works in family law. He thinks the CPS report and the restraining order petition are coordinated. Someone is trying to build a case that you are unstable. If Diane gets that restraining order and CPS finds concerns, you could actually face custody issues." I sat down hard on the edge of my bed. This cannot be happening. We need to be very strategic at this hearing, Vera. We need character witnesses. We need documentation of your excellent work record. We need to show that you are a good mother who made one mistaken judgment, not an unstable person who poses a threat. I spent the next 10 days preparing. I got letters of recommendation from colleagues at the hospital. I compiled Lily's school records, showing she had always been a good student before all this. I documented every therapy appointment. I created a timeline showing that everything I had done was in response to Diane's original cruelty. But I could not shake the feeling that I was fighting a battle I had already lost. Diane had played this perfectly. She had turned my defense of my daughter into evidence of my instability. She had weaponized the system against me. And now, I was facing the real possibility of losing not just my family's respect, not just my job, but my actual daughter. The night before the hearing, I sat in Lily's room while she slept. I watched her chest rise and fall, listened to her breathe, and thought about how one social media post had spiraled into this nightmare. One moment of cruelty from my sister had triggered a chain reaction that threatened to destroy everything I loved. I had stood up for my daughter, and it had brought me to this, to legal threats and custody concerns, and a family completely shattered. To a marriage barely surviving and a child traumatized beyond anything I could have imagined. I thought about that apology I had posted, how humiliating it had been to write those words, and it had not even worked. Diane had not accepted my surrender. She had escalated. Tomorrow I would go to court and try to convince a judge that I was not a threat to my own sister. And in 2 weeks, a CPS worker would return to determine if I was fit to parent my own child. I had tried to protect Lily, and instead I had put her in more danger than she had ever been in before. The morning of the restraining order hearing, I woke up with a plan to surrender completely. I would go to court. I would agree to the restraining order. I would promise never to contact Diane again. I would be apologetic and humble, and whatever they needed me to be. I would survive this. I would get through the hearing, I would satisfy CPS, I would slowly rebuild. That was the only path left. I got dressed in my most conservative outfit. I practiced what I would say. "I am sorry, Your Honor." I overreacted. "I will stay away from my sister. I just want to move forward." Greg drove me to the courthouse in silence. Neither of us had slept more than a few hours. Lily was at school, unaware that today might determine whether her mother ended up with a restraining order on her record. Tom Brady met us outside the courtroom, going over last-minute strategy. "Do not get defensive," he said. "Be humble. Show remorse. Let me do most of the talking." I nodded, feeling numb. We walked into the courtroom. Diane was already there, sitting with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. My mother was there too, sitting in the gallery behind Diane, along with 2 of my cousins. They would not look at me. The bailiff called our case. We approached the bench. The judge, a stern-looking man in his 60s, reviewed the petition. And then, something happened that changed everything. The courtroom door opened and a man walked in. I recognized him immediately. Marcus Chen, Diane's ex-boyfriend. They had dated for 2 years before breaking up 8 months ago. I had met him a handful of times at family gatherings. He had always seemed nice, quiet, a little overshadowed by Diane's stronger personality. He walked straight up to Tom Brady and handed him a folder. "Your Honor," my client's attorney said. "I apologize for the interruption, but we have just received potentially relevant evidence." The judge looked annoyed. "This is highly irregular." "I understand, Your Honor, but the witness just came forward this morning. His testimony is directly relevant to this petition." Diane's lawyer objected. "Your Honor, this is an ambush. We have had no notice of any witnesses." The judge considered for a moment. "I will allow brief testimony to determine relevance, but make it quick." Marcus took the stand. He was sworn in. Tom Brady approached him. "Mr. Chen, how do you know the petitioner Diane Parker?" "I dated her for 2 years until we broke up 8 months ago." "And do you have knowledge relevant to this petition?" "I do. I have been following this situation online. I saw what happened, and I could not stay silent anymore. Diane has done this before." The courtroom went very still. "What do you mean she has done this before?" Tom asked. "When we were dating, Diane systematically destroyed my relationship with my own family. She would start small conflicts, then escalate them, then play the victim. She used social media to manipulate narratives. She got my brother to stop speaking to me for 6 months. When I finally realized what she was doing and broke up with her, she tried to file a restraining order against me too. I ended up not fighting it because I just wanted to be done. But watching her do the same thing to her own sister, to her niece, I could not let it happen again." Diane's face had gone white. Her lawyer was flipping through papers frantically. Tom Brady pulled out printed documents from the folder Marcus had given him. "I have here text messages between Miss Diane Parker and her friend Jennifer Mills, dated from 3 weeks ago. In these messages, Miss Parker states, and I quote, 'I am going to destroy Vera. She always thought she was better than me with her perfect marriage and perfect career. Now everyone will see she is as messed up as I always said,' end quote." He handed copies to the judge and to Diane's lawyer. "I also have here a recording from 7 months ago when Mr. Chen and Miss Parker were still dating. Miss Parker discusses her sister Vera and expresses significant jealousy about her life. She states that she has always wanted to teach Vera a lesson about thinking she is better than everyone else." Diane stood up suddenly. "This is a violation of my privacy. Those messages were private." Sit down, Miss Parker, the judge said sharply. Your Honor, Tom continued. I also have evidence that Miss Parker befriended a colleague of Mrs. Vera Parker at the hospital, specifically to file a complaint against her with Human Resources. I have text messages confirming this coordination. He presented more documents. I could see Diane's lawyer reading them, her face growing more concerned. Additionally, Mr. Chen has provided documentation that Miss Parker has engaged in this same pattern of behavior with at least 2 other family members in the past. A cousin who stopped attending family events after a conflict orchestrated by Miss Parker, and an aunt who was similarly isolated from the family. Marcus spoke up. Diane is brilliant at this. She finds a small conflict, a small hurt, and she amplifies it. She plays the victim so convincingly that everyone believes her. She gets people to isolate whoever she has targeted. She has done it multiple times. And I stayed quiet because I was afraid, but I cannot watch her destroy Vera and Lily the same way. The judge read through the documents carefully. When he looked up, his expression was cold. Miss Parker, these messages appear to show premeditation and malicious intent. They suggest you deliberately engineered this conflict and its escalation. Diane's lawyer tried to recover. Your Honor, these messages are taken out of context. My client made an error in judgment with the original post, but... This is not an error in judgment, the judge interrupted. This is a calculated campaign of harassment. He turned to Diane. Miss Parker, did you or did you not coordinate with someone at Mrs. Vera Parker's workplace to file a complaint against her? Diane's voice was shaking. I just thought people should know she was unstable. Did you, or did you not, post that original poll about a 9-year-old child, knowing it would cause harm? It was a joke. Did you, or did you not escalate this situation deliberately to damage your sister's reputation and relationships? Diane said nothing. The judge closed the folder. This petition for a restraining order is denied. Furthermore, I am strongly encouraging Mrs. Vera Parker to consider filing her own petition, as the evidence here suggests that Miss Parker is the one engaging in harassing behavior. I am also forwarding this evidence to the appropriate authorities regarding the false CPS report, assuming Miss Parker is responsible for that as well. I did not make a CPS report, Diane said quickly, but her voice wavered. Someone from Diane's social circle did, Marcus said. She coordinated it. I have messages about that too. The hearing ended. The judge dismissed us. Diane rushed out of the courtroom, her mother following her. My own mother stayed sitting in the gallery, her face pale, staring at nothing. Outside, Tom Brady shook Marcus's hand vigorously. You saved her life today, he said. How did you get all this? Marcus looked at me. I have felt guilty for months about not speaking up sooner. I knew what Diane was like. When I saw this happening to you and your daughter, I could not stay silent anymore. I kept everything from when we dated. Every text, every recording. I knew eventually I might need it to protect someone else from her. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you so much. He nodded. I hope things get better for your family. The aftermath happened fast, like dominoes falling in reverse, rebuilding what had been torn down. Marcus posted a public statement that evening sharing his story and providing receipts of Diane's manipulation. He included screenshots of the messages, audio clips from the recording, and a detailed account of how she had systematically destroyed his family relationships during their relationship. The post went viral within hours. This time the narrative was completely different. People saw the pattern. They saw the premeditation. They saw exactly what Diane had done, not just to me, but as a repeated behavior across years and multiple victims. My phone started buzzing before I even got home from the courthouse. Family members calling, texting, messaging. My cousin Emma unblocked me and called immediately crying, apologizing over and over. I did not know, she kept saying. I thought you were overreacting. I am so sorry. I should have believed you. My Aunt Caroline sent a long message about how manipulated she felt, how Diane had privately messaged many family members, feeding them information that made me look unstable, how she realized now that all of it had been orchestrated. My mother showed up at my house that evening. She stood on my doorstep crying something I had not seen her do since my father's surgery 5 years ago. "I failed you," she said. "I chose the wrong daughter. I let Diane convince me you were the problem, when she was the one causing all of this. I am so sorry, Vera. I am so sorry." I let her in. We sat at my kitchen table and talked for 3 hours. She explained how Diane had been feeding her information privately, showing her selected screenshots, crying to her about how afraid she was of me. Mom had believed it because Diane had always been convincing, had always known exactly what to say. She told me that even at that family meeting she had felt uncertain, but Diane had been so tearful and frightened that everyone felt they had to protect her. Mom admitted she had been manipulated just like everyone else. It did not erase the hurt of the past month, but it was a start. The hospital called me 2 days later. Patricia from HR asked me to come in for a meeting. I arrived expecting more bad news, but instead she handed me a letter, clearing me completely from the performance improvement plan. "We discovered that the original complaint was filed by someone with a personal connection to your family conflict," she said. "The complaint was made in bad faith. We are removing it from your record entirely and issuing you a formal apology. We should have investigated more thoroughly before taking action." My colleagues who had treated me coldly started reaching out to apologize. The nurses who had whispered about me brought me coffee and said they were sorry for judging without knowing the full story. Diane's employer launched a formal investigation after seeing the evidence that she had deliberately tried to damage someone's career and had engaged in coordinated harassment involving a child. 2 weeks later, Diane resigned before she could be fired. She moved 3 hours away to stay with a friend, effectively exiling herself from our community. The CPS case was closed immediately after Amanda Stone reviewed the evidence from the hearing. She called me to apologize. "We were responding to a report that appears to have been made in bad faith," she said. "Lily is clearly loved and cared for. I am closing this case. I am sorry for the additional stress this caused your family." But the most important healing happened at home. The night after the hearing, I sat down with Lily and explained what had happened in age-appropriate terms. I told her that Aunt Diane had been deliberately cruel, that she had tried to make me look bad, but that the truth had come out. I showed her that sometimes fighting for what is right means going through something really hard before things get better. "You really did not give up," she said quietly, "even when everyone thought you were wrong. I will never give up on you, baby. Ever." She hugged me tight. "I am sorry I said you made everything worse. You were trying to protect me. You have nothing to apologize for. You were hurt and scared. That was okay." Greg and I went to couples therapy. He apologized over and over for doubting me, for suggesting I should have just let it go, for not standing by me when I needed him most. It took time, but we worked through it. We talked about fear and pressure, and how we had both handled things badly. Slowly we found our way back to each other. Lily returned to school and something amazing happened. The principal called an assembly and spoke to the entire 4th grade about bullying, about how rumors can hurt people, about standing up for others instead of joining in. Several kids who had bullied Lily apologized to her directly. The girl whose mother was friends with Diane came to Lily crying, saying her mom had explained that Aunt Diane had lied about a lot of things, and she was sorry for being mean. 3 of Lily's old friends invited her to sit with them at lunch. She came home that day with a small smile, the first real smile I had seen in over a month. Dr. Patterson, her therapist, helped her process the trauma. It took months of work, but Lily slowly became herself again. The nightmares decreased, her appetite returned. She started drawing again, filling page after page with colorful pictures. She laughed at dinner. She invited friends over. She told me jokes. 6 months after everything fell apart, we had a family barbecue. Not the whole extended family. Some people had drifted away, and I was okay with that. But the people who mattered were there. My mother, who had worked hard to rebuild my trust. Emma and her family. My Aunt Linda, who had apologized so sincerely. A few cousins who had stood by me once they learned the truth. Greg manned the grill. Lily played with her younger cousins in the backyard. My mother sat beside me on the porch and watched them play. "She is resilient," Mom said. "Kids are amazing that way." "She is," I agreed. "But she should never have had to be that resilient. She should never have had to go through this." "I know. And I will spend the rest of my life making it up to both of you." At work, I was promoted to charge nurse 3 months after everything was resolved. My supervisor Janet told me that my grace under pressure during those awful weeks had actually demonstrated exactly the kind of leadership they needed. I was nominated for Nurse of the Year again, and this time I won. The most satisfying moment came 8 months after the original incident. Lily asked if we could get our hair done together. We went to a real salon, and she sat in the big chair explaining to the stylist exactly what she wanted. When we were done, we both had cute, stylish haircuts that we loved. We took a selfie together right there in the salon, both of us smiling truly happy. I posted it on social media, with a simple caption, "We decide our own worth." It got 147 likes, and dozens of supportive comments. Diane was not mentioned. She was not part of our story anymore. But I learned something through that nightmare that I will carry with me forever. Fighting for what is right does not always bring immediate victory. Sometimes it brings a storm that makes you question everything about yourself. I learned that standing up for my daughter meant weathering the worst weeks of my life. It meant being doubted by everyone I loved, including sometimes myself. It meant watching my child suffer before things got better. But I also learned that truth has a stubborn way of surviving when you refuse to let it die. The hardest lesson was that sometimes the people who should protect you will fail you. Sometimes your own family will choose comfort over courage. But your children are watching. Lily saw me fall apart. She saw me doubt myself. But she also saw me stand back up. She saw me fight when it would have been easier to surrender. That is the lesson I hope she carries forever. Not every battle is won quickly. Not every right action is immediately rewarded. But protecting your child is never wrong, even when the world tries to convince you it is. Even when you are standing alone. Even when you doubt yourself. You keep fighting. Because 5 hours can feel like forever when you are drowning. But 5 hours is also how long it took for me to decide that my daughter's dignity was worth more than my comfort. And 2 months later, that decision saved us both. The ending I got was not about revenge. Diane faced consequences, yes. She lost her job and had to move away. But the real victory was simpler and more profound. My daughter knows I will fight for her. My family knows the truth. I know that I can trust my instincts even when everyone doubts me. On Lily's 10th birthday just a few weeks ago, she blew out her candles and made a wish. Later, when I tucked her in, I asked what she had wished for. "I wished that I could be brave like you when I grow up," she said. And that right there, that made every moment of that nightmare worth it. So let me ask you something, and I really want to hear your thoughts on this. If you were in my position, if someone publicly humiliated your child, what would you have done? Would you have fought back immediately like I did? Or would you have tried to handle it more quietly? Have you ever had to stand up for someone you love, even when everyone told you that you were wrong? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who is going through something similar. And if this story resonated with you, if you have ever felt like you were drowning while trying to do the right thing, please hit that like button. It helps this story reach other people who might need to hear it. Subscribe to this channel, because I share stories like this stories about real people facing real challenges and finding their way through. And please share this video with someone who might need the reminder that standing up for what is right is always worth it, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I know it was a long one, but I wanted you to understand the whole journey, not just the beginning or the end. Thank you for being here, for listening, for understanding. I hope that whatever you are facing in your own life, you find the courage to stand up for what matters. You find people who believe in you, and you remember that the truth always finds a way to survive. Take care of yourselves and the people you love. They are worth fighting for.